Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and I have with me today some special individuals from Scioto Township and Scioto Township Trustee. We've got Billy Taylor with us, and we have the gentleman from the fire department, the chief and the assistant. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a moment. But first, these words from our friends at Advanced Services.
Hi, I'm Dave Pinkerton with Advanced Services Heating and Cooling, your local heating and cooling expert. If you want quality service, quality installation, give Advanced Services a call, 740-773-4499.
Thank you, Dave. And as you can tell, we have an Advanced Services employee with us here today. Ryan Horsley is the fire chief for Scioto Township, and also Rick Ray is the assistant fire coach. I've got coach on my mind because Billy used to coach ball for a long time at Chillicothe High School and other areas, I'm sure, too. Gentlemen, let's first talk about why we're here, because next week you've got a special meeting and there's going to be a swearing-in ceremony. And you and I talked to Billy about the fact that you're going to have some full-time staff members for the first time.
Yes, we are. This is a project we've been working on for several years. Took real small steps to get to this point. And we asked the residents of the township last November if they would support a full-time department. Mm-hmm. And with 64.23% of the vote, they said yes. So we're rolling on with it.
Yeah, going right to it. You mentioned to me on the phone the other day, 1,600 runs, and that's just been in a month?
Yeah, that was last year.
Last year, okay. But a lot of runs.
Yeah. Well, I'm not ready now. I thought it was. Yeah.
There it is.
In 2022, we had 1,660.
Okay,
runs
for the year.
And 452 of those were mutual aids for other townships or the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the mutual aid, you're very valuable because you're able to assist smaller townships in some instances, and I'm sure they probably provide mutual aid for you folks too.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah. Ryan, you've had these individuals as part of the volunteer staff.
That's correct.
And now they're going in full bore.
That's right. Our first 6 that we're hiring for full-time, actually...
Lean up into that microphone there. There you go.
They actually started out as volunteers for the department. And then they signed on and did pay per call that we did for a while. We've, like Billy mentioned, we've evolved from several years of trying to get this up and going to be able to provide for the township residents. Basically, about 10 years ago, we saw that this was more than any volunteer department could handle with the call volume the way it was raising. And the lack of volunteers available for our area and across the country, we knew that we needed to get to a point where we could provide coverage. So the trustees and the members of the fire department have been working very hard to try to get to the point we're at now. And with the resident support, we're finally going to get there.
Yeah. How does this change things up for you and Rick as far as staffing and everything? Because volunteer, you're just, hey, you're on call, so to speak, but now you're going to have somebody there around the clock.
Rick can probably answer that question a little more than I. He's around day to day, more so than I am every day, and he handles a lot of the scheduling and things like that. So I'll let Rick elaborate on that some.
Okay. Well, with the staffing being full-time now, we will have 2 full-time members, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Where before, we were trying to get the part-time help, part-time employees to sign up for shifts, fill for shifts. It's just one less worry that we have to consider when running the department. We know that we won't be opening shifts anymore. We'll be able to answer the calls as they come in. Now, there'll still be calls. If we have 2 calls back-to-back, we'll still have to have help from our neighboring townships.
Right.
But just the fact of knowing every day we have a crew there ready to respond is huge.
Yeah.
When I started in 2016, we were staffing 2 people 8 hours a day. And like they had said, we slowly progressed over the years. We added 2 shifts, So we went to 8 o'clock at night. Then we went to midnight. Then we added overnight staffing. And then next week, we will be officially full-time fire department.
And the need, it never decreases, does it? I mean, it seems like the more people we get in the county, the more incidents there are, and certainly we need to make sure those incidents are covered.
Correct. Yeah, our numbers have only gone up over the years.
Yeah.
If you look at where we were in 20, going from 1,100 runs in 21 up till 22, we're at 1,660. And that's just EMS calls. You know, we have another 200 to 300 fire calls as well that we answer. If you think about a part-time staff for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we have a membership roster that carries 38 people. However, each one of those 38 people, they also have a full-time job, a life, family, kids, all those kind of things. It's the same situation as the entire country is going through it right now. Mm-hmm. And with the foresight of the fire department and the trustees and the support of the township, we saw the need. We saw a way to get it done to where we could provide that service that they need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's how we've gotten to that point.
Yeah. I know, Billy, we talked on the phone the other day about the proposal to have a county-wide system. Your plan was already in the works and in the place. I know, Ryan, you're on the board that is discussing all of that.
That's correct.
What can you tell us about where that stands? And I mean, right now, I get a feeling they're kind of in the infancy stage compared to what you are now, ready to go.
Yes, very much so. At this point right now, the county commissioners have put out a request for proposal for an EMS study for the county. Once a contractor is selected for that and they do this study, they're going to go to every township and see what the actual need is. And then they're going to come up with a plan to present to the county on how to fit that need. And that could be any one of a number of things. It could be combination of things. You know, there's been a lot of different talk about one thing or the other, but that's what this study is really going to do. It's going to bring back an actual result so that we can go off of to see what's needed.
Mm-hmm. And I have to believe that you guys did some of this study work beforehand in preparation for your levy proposal to get to where you are today.
We certainly did. It was a lot of groundwork, looking at the different things, numbers. I mean, there is a lot of things that go in line with this on getting it up and going and to make sure you can sustain it. You know, that was one of the main concerns for Bill and the trustees. They didn't want to roll something out and then have to turn back around and say, we can't do that. So that is part of what took us a little bit longer to get going. We needed to make sure that we had the support and the infrastructure to be able to keep it going.
Mm-hmm. One thing I want to point out, we're talking about a fire and EMS. They're talking about EMS countywide. And when you have a fire and EMS department, I talked to a couple of insurance agents, if we have a fire department designated full-time, it'll lower the rates for the residents' insurance because it'll be a different rating. Businesses, one of the first questions a business will ask, do you have fire protection? And now the city and us will be the nucleus of the county will be covered with both of them.
Yeah.
And I think it could draw more business in, and it can also help the people, the taxpayers.
Mm-hmm. And Rick, you were about to
I was
chime
just
in.
going to what Billy had said.
Yeah.
This EMS, county EMS, they're not talking about the fire part of it, which is a huge part of a need for the county.
Right.
If you take and go with a countywide EMS and take those members from the fire department, or you won't have a fire department members because they're not doing EMS also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
very important. We needed to be able to provide fire protection also.
there's too many trees in Ross County not to have a fire countywide, right?
Certainly.
We do have the second largest county in Ohio. Mm-hmm. And I feel that with just a countywide system to replace all this, our residents wouldn't get the coverage they're getting now with the run volume we have.
Yeah.
It's just a huge county, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think zones or districts is the best way to go that is a need in Ross County.
I know you can't speak for other townships, but you do mutual aid, so you kind of know what's going on in the other townships and everything. Not every township is able to do what Scioto Township's doing.
That's absolutely true. We have the benefit of having the ability to be able to do what we're doing today. But I want to reiterate that this started a long time ago. Yeah. You know, the call volume that we have this year or previous years has just gone up and up and up and up. Our call volume is the highest in the county other than the city of Chillicothe. You know, some of the other townships have a lower volume, but it's still very hard for them. You know, there are only so many volunteers to go around, and they all have to work jobs. I mean, there's just a lack of personnel to be able to fill a lot of these places.
What are you seeing? What are you hearing from others? And is this going to be something that's going to meet all the needs? Do you think it may need to be expanded someday?
I think that it's going to meet all the needs for Scioto Township right now. Yeah. What we're doing is, this is phase one of an ongoing project. You know, this is going to continue to evolve as we go. This is step one, and we're already looking at steps 2 and 3 and how to get there. But it's just going to continue to evolve as we go.
Yeah. You've got these members who will be sworn in on Tuesday. So you've got an opportunity. Is this an open to the public swearing-in ceremony?
It's right after our regular monthly meeting.
Okay, so if you're interested in attending the meeting itself, begins at 12 o'clock, 12:30. 12:30, and that will be at the Scioto Township Hall.
Yeah, we've asked the sheriff to come in and swear them in since he is the top safety officer for the county, and he told me he would come and do that. He'd be honored.
Very good. So that is this coming Tuesday. And, of course, you've got the whole summer ahead of you, and we'll see how this plays out. And I'm sure you've got it laid out now, but once you get it into motion, you'll know what sort of tweaks you need to do to it to make sure it runs smoothly.
I would just like to point out that we're working on a second day shift. We have 2 stations. Norfolk Village is set up. England Hall is set up for bedroom. We have bedrooms where people can stay the whole time. Norfolk's not, but we're going to try to get 12-hour shift there every day, 8 to 8 right now. Yeah. And you've had some already sign up for that?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we should have squad on each side of the township. We're on both sides of the city.
I think that's one thing that people don't realize. When I think Scioto Township, other than where I was from, in Pickaway County, the Scioto Township here in Ross County, it goes around Chillicothe.
It actually includes Chillicothe. They're in Scioto Township, not our fire district, but they're in Scioto Township. So the residents of Chillicothe pay an inside millage tax that comes to the township. So and we have to go through there to get from one side to the other.
And the county's big enough, and now you got this to cover, right?
That's right.
Is there anything that we've missed you wanted to make sure people knew?
I would just put out there, we are looking for part-time people. If you have an interest in fire and EMS and your passion is that, we have a place for you. Please contact us and let us know. We'd be happy to have you.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping in. Thanks for what you're doing as well.
Thank you.
Rick Ray, also Ryan Horsley, and Billy Taylor. I'm Dan Ramey. We're brought to you today by, show your emblems there, Advanced Services. They can get you taken care of for all your heating and air conditioning needs and probably more as well. Thanks again for watching today with a special edition of Litter Media Live.